Hello and welcome to Andrew's Music Lessons. My name is Andrew Michel, and today we are going to be talking about triads. In this video, we're going to be looking at triads using the treble clef, but if you prefer to use the bass clef, there's a bass clef version of this video in the description below. So now let's get started. So what is a triad? A triad is a group of three notes that form a chord. When triads are played in their most basic stacked position, they're made up of thirds. In other words, the distance from the lowest note to the middle note is 3 tones, and the distance from the middle note to the highest note is also 3 tones. To understand this a little bit better, let's take a look at a major scale. Here we have a major scale starting on C. Below the scale, you'll see the letter name of every note, as well as the numbers 1 through 7 and the word octave. The numbers are what we call scale degrees. So, C would be the first scale degree, D would be the second scale degree, E would be the third, and so on. We're going to call the highest note in the scale the octave, and the octave is also going to be C, just like the first note of the scale. But we're going to call it the octave because it's 8 notes away from the starting point. Now, in order to form a triad, we're going to take the first scale degree, the third scale degree, and the fifth scale degree, and when we play them together, it'll sound like this. Also, underneath the first scale degree, you'll see the word root. And very often when we're talking about chords or triads, we call the first scale degree the root. So now we know that a triad is built on the root, the third, and the fifth. So now we're going to look at 4 triad examples that use C as the root. Our first example is going to be a C major triad. In this example, C is the root, E is the third, and G is the fifth. And when we play all 3 notes together, the triad sounds like this. Our next example is going to be a C minor triad. So you'll notice one difference between the minor and the major triad, and the difference is the third scale degree. So in order to turn a major into a minor triad, we have to lower the third scale degree by a half step. So you'll notice now that instead of E, we have an E flat. So a C minor triad has a C on the root, E flat as the third, and the fifth is G. Together, those notes sound like this. Next, we have a diminished triad. And in our previous triad, we had lowered the third scale degree to create a minor. This time, for this triad, we're going to keep that lowered third, but we're also going to lower the fifth scale degree as well. So now we have C on the root. The third is E flat, and the fifth is G flat. And together, those notes sound like this. The final triad we're going to talk about is the augmented triad. And the augmented triad is going to be very similar to the C major triad that we talked about in the first example. But what we're going to do is we're going to raise the fifth scale degree by a half step. So G will become G sharp. So this triad will have C in the root. The third will be E. And the fifth will be G sharp. And together those notes sound like this. So let's review what we've gone through in this lesson. A triad is built on the root, the third, and the fifth. A C major triad is made up of C, E, and G. To create a minor triad, we have to take the third scale degree and lower it by a half step. A diminished triad is very similar to a minor triad, but you're also going to lower the fifth scale degree. And to create an augmented triad, it's very similar to the major triad, but we're going to raise the fifth scale degree. That's all for today's video. I hope it was very helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.